What happens when an exiled gorilla raises a predator she was supposed to fear? The jungle wanted silence. The humans wanted control. But what happened next flipped everything upside down. You won't believe who walked out of those trees and who stayed. You ever see a gorilla cradle a tiger cub like it's her own baby? No? Well, neither did the forest. And let me tell you, it wasn't happy about it. It all started after one of those wicked summer storms rolled through the lower valleys of Central Africa, the kind that rips branches like toothpicks and turns dry riverbeds into angry chocolate rivers. Trees were bent like old men's backs, the skies howled, and deep inside the undergrowth, a tragedy slipped past unnoticed. A tigress, not local, clearly lost, clearly desperate, was ambushed by hyenas. No backup, no pride, no chance, just screams and silence, and left behind, one tiny cub, striped, shivering, soaking wet, abandoned like yesterday's bad news. Enter Bajja. Now, Bajja wasn't just any gorilla. She was old school, broad-shouldered, silver-backed, and exiled. Yeah, kicked out of her troop for doing the one thing that made her special, caring too much. When a younger male got too rough with a sick infant, she stepped in. Didn't matter that she was right. The alpha didn't like getting corrected. So, out she went. Alone, unapologetic. So when she stumbled across that cub, barely breathing, still nosing the air for a mother that wasn't coming back, she didn't hesitate. No hesitation, no questions, just instinct. She wrapped that striped fuzzball in her arms and carried him off like he was blood. And that's when the forest started whispering. See, jungles have rules. Unspoken, ancient teeth-and-claw rules. A gorilla doesn't raise a tiger. Period. It messes with the balance, confuses the food chain, and heaven forbid a predator and a primate start acting like family. But Bajja? She didn't care about that. She named him Tavi, short, punchy, easy to growl, and nursed him like one of her own. She mashed berries and leaves, dipped bark in mud to soften it. When Tavi cried at night, and trust me, that cub could holler, she hummed low jungle lullabies, the kind that echoed from her chest like a heartbeat. At first it was sweet, heartwarming even. Then it got complicated. Pavement apes, humans, started noticing. First it was a hiker who swore he saw a baby tiger riding a gorilla like a horse. Then a research drone caught a blurry photo. Suddenly, the quiet part of the valley wasn't so quiet anymore. Researchers showed up with cameras, trackers, tablets. Their eyes weren't soft with wonder. They were sharp with suspicion. Meanwhile, the animals around Bajja turned cold. The elephants stopped using the waterhole near her grove. The baboons howled louder when passing her ridge. One night, a juvenile bull elephant, all tusks and teenage rage, stomped through her sleeping nest and smashed it to splinters. Message received, "You're not welcome, not with him." And still Bajja stayed, rebuilt her shelter, held Tavi tighter, but the whispers turned to growls. Tavi was growing, fast. His play pounces started landing harder. His claws drew blood, not because he meant to, but because that's what tigers do. One morning, Bajja caught her reflection in a pool, saw 3 scratch marks across her shoulder, and paused, not in fear, in realization. This cub wasn't staying small, not forever. And then came the biologist, Jaden Thomas, 46, grew up in Georgia, worked in Uganda, man with a camera and a conscience. He saw Bajja with Tavi one morning and didn't call it in, didn't panic, just watched, quiet, careful, thoughtful. He knew what this was, not a freak accident, not a danger, a miracle. But miracles, like secrets, don't stay quiet long. That same day, Bajja noticed new scents in the wind, new tracks, new energy in the trees, coiled, tight, unfamiliar. Tavi growled for the first time, not a kitten mule, a real growl, deep, instinctual. And just before dusk, the jungle went dead quiet. No birds, no bugs, not even wind. Bajja sat still, holding Tavi against her chest, Her fingers flexed like old tree roots. Her eyes didn't blink, and from the far brush came a sound no mother ever forgets. A low rumble, familiar, wild, unmistakable. Tavi's ears twitched, his body went stiff, his head turned slowly like something ancient had woken up inside him. And Bajja? She just whispered, "Not yet." What happened next changed everything. You do not want to miss what unfolds when instinct meets loyalty. Stay tuned, because this story's just getting started. Let me tell you something about the wild. When the forest goes quiet, it's not peace. It's a warning, a cold breath before the storm. That night, the silence wasn't just eerie. It was surgical. Like the jungle itself was holding its breath, waiting for a mistake. Bajja didn't move. Not an inch. Her muscles locked like a stone statue. Tavi? He was curled tight against her chest, but his little chest rose in sharp, shallow bursts. He felt it too. That old, baked-in fear from when the world was still learning who eats who. Then, crack. A single branch snapped in the brush. Not loud, not rushed, just deliberate. You know when your gut twists and says, "Something's coming," but your brain's too stubborn to listen. Bajja didn't have that problem. She didn't need logic. She had instinct. She placed Tavi behind her and rose, not all the way, just enough to square those wide shoulders and set her stance. Eyes narrowed, breath slow. Heart, probably pounding like thunder, but her face, blank as stone, and then she saw it. A shadow peeled from the trees like smoke. Long, low, striped. It wasn't some stranger. No, no. This wasn't a predator passing through. This was her, the tigress, the one who brought Tavi into the world and left him behind. She looked like she'd crawled out of a nightmare. Scars down her ribs, one ear torn, ribs sharp against her belly like hunger carved her from the inside out. But her eyes? Fire. Pure, burning, don't mess with me fire. And Bajja? She didn't flinch. Now you'd think, maybe, this would be a hallmark moment. Reunited at last. Cue the music, right? Wrong. The tigress didn't purr. She didn't approach slow and soft. She growled, low, possessive, like the jungle owed her something. Tavi took one step forward. Bajja stopped him with a single arm. It wasn't aggression, it was protection. The kind that says, "Not until I know what's going on here." And oh boy, something was going on. From the trees came movement. More shadows, silent steps, observers. Turns out, Jaden had returned. But this time, not alone. The researchers were back. And this time, they brought authority. Rangers, tranquilizers, traps. Because to them, this wasn't a story of survival. It was a problem. You raise a tiger cub, they call it unnatural, dangerous, a threat to the ecological order, like the jungle ever asked for permission to evolve. Jaden argued, tried to explain. This gorilla is not aggressive. She's mothering that cub. But they had their boxes checked. Their drones beeped. They spoke in bullet points. Meanwhile, down in the glade, Bajja stood face to face with a mother who abandoned her son and wanted him back without a word, without a whimper. The tigress circled slow. Her growl became steady, not a threat, a claim. And Tavi? He didn't move. He looked from one mother to the other, stripes twitching, tail frozen mid-swish. Then came the real gut punch. A tranquilizer dart flew through the air, silent, precise. But it wasn't meant for the tigress. It hit Bajja. She staggered. Jaden shouted something, but it was drowned out in the commotion. The tigress roared. Tavi let out a cry that cracked the canopy. Birds scattered. Rangers panicked. One even slipped and fired into the trees, hitting nothing but air. And Bajja? She dropped to her knees. But even as her vision blurred and her limbs turned to stone, she didn't let go of Tavi. Her arm, thick and shaking, curled around him like a shield. And just as everything spiraled, one final roar split the air. This time, not from Bajja, Not from the tigress, from him, Tavi. It wasn't a cub's cry. It was something older, stronger, and every creature in that clearing felt it in their spine. This is it, the moment everything turns. You've waited for it, now don't blink. Stay right here because what happens next will shake the entire jungle to its roots. Let me make one thing clear. That roar, it wasn't cute. It wasn't some baby tiger having a tantrum. It was raw. It was ancestral. It sounded like the jungle itself clearing its throat. Tavi stood there, claws flexed, chest heaving, eyes locked on the men with darts and the tigress with fire in her blood. He didn't move toward either of them. He didn't whimper or run or curl up for protection. He stood, between them, between everything. Jaden froze. His hand still hovered near his belt. The other researchers? They looked like someone just pulled the floor out from under their PhDs. The Rangers stepped back, rifles lowered just slightly, like their hands forgot who was supposed to be dangerous. And Bajja, bless her, was still down. Breathing, yes, but dazed. Her arm had slipped from around Tavi. She blinked slow, groggy but watching. Then the tigress did something no one expected. She sat down, not gracefully, not like a show cat. It was heavy, tired. She stared at Tavi like she was seeing him for the first time. Not as the baby she left in the storm, but as something other. And in that weird, cracked open moment, the whole forest just held its breath again. Jaden stepped forward, hands raised. No weapons, no noise, just him and the situation that every textbook told him could never exist. "Let them be," he said, voice rough. "No one here is breaking nature, they're rewriting it." One ranger, older guy with a jaw like concrete, muttered, "That ain't our call." But it was. Because while humans love to pretend they run the show, there are moments, rare, wild, real, where nature reminds us we're just lucky guests. And then Bajja stood up, slow, shaky, but proud. She didn't lunge, didn't bark, just walked to Tavi and placed a hand gently on his back. Then she turned, not to the tigress, but to Jaden. And you better believe that look. It wasn't animal. It wasn't primal. It was personal. "You see this?" that look said. "This is mine. Not because I claimed him, but because I showed up when no one else did." And Jaden? He got it. No need for more words. No need for press conferences or debates or tranquilizer reports. He nodded once, slow and firm, and backed off. The tigress finally rose. She circled around them, not with malice, not even with jealousy, just resignation. She'd lost the right to claim the cub with blood alone. Sometimes, blood isn't enough. Not when loyalty was earned in scraped knuckles and sleepless nights. She vanished into the trees. No growl, no fight, just gone. And the men? They packed up, quietly, efficiently. Jaden made sure of it. As for Bajja and Tavi, they didn't need an audience. They just disappeared too, deeper into the brush. No goodbye, no performance. Just mother and son walking on, and maybe, just maybe, that corner of the jungle got a little quieter. Not because it forgot what happened, but because it finally understood. Sometimes, it's not the law of the jungle that needs protecting, it's the love in it. Because family, it's not just blood, it's who stays.